Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to share with you how you can pay your debt down faster. When it comes to paying off debt, overall, you do have to be patient, you have to be persistent, and you just have to work hard to stay on track, increase your income, pay down your debts, etc. However, there are quite a few things that you can do to pay down debt faster. You just need to do your research and make sure that these are the best fit for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right into these few things that you can do to pay your debt down faster. Number one is to choose and stick to a payoff plan. If you're on your debt-free journey, you've probably heard of a few payoff methods. And one of the most popular one is the debt snowball method. And this is where you focus on the lowest balance that you have and pay that down first so you have more wins. And while you're paying that one, you're focusing on that one, putting extra money to it as best as you can, you're paying minimums on all the rest of your loans. And then once that smallest loan is paid off, you snowball that minimum payment into your second smallest loan. This is great for people who need those little wins. So maybe you have a $500 credit card and then you have a $20,000 student loan, and it's going to take you a while to pay down a $20,000 loan. So you would rather pay down the $500 first and get that little celebration and make you feel better so you stick to your goals. The second payment method is the debt avalanche, which is my personal favorite. This is the way that I pay down my debt, and this is by paying the highest interest loans first, and then the same idea. So focus on that high interest loan, and then once you pay that down, roll over that minimum payment into the next highest interest loan. This one is going to help you to save the most money, but you may be spending more time on one single loan and may not be able to celebrate those little wins in between time as much as with the snowball method. The third method that not too many people talk about, but it is something that I believe can benefit a lot of people, is paying the loan with the highest minimum payment. Because once you get rid of a $600 car note, for example, that's $600 that you can put into the rest of your debt, which I think can be pretty significant and help a lot of people if you choose that. But the whole point of this is to choose one of those and actually stick to it, because I see people who pay down their debt with no plan or no sort of steps in place to pay that down, and they're not really making any progress. So for example, I actually was recently speaking with a coworker who said they feel like they're putting so much money toward their debt, but nothing is happening. And so I asked what payment she was making, and she was putting extra to her credit card, which is what she wanted to pay down first. So she was putting a little bit extra to that, but she was also putting extra to her mortgage, still paying down her student loans, even though they're in forbearance and at 0% interest. And there were other things. She had her car note too, so just paying all these things, paying a little extra on each of them. Now this is great. Of course, it's important for you to pay on everything, but it's better for you to choose one of those plans and stick to it, because you are going to make progress a lot faster. I will say that the debt avalanche is going to allow you to save more money and pay off debt a lot faster just in general because of the way it works. You're paying down the highest interest loan. That means less money will accrue in interest, and you're going to be paying it down a lot faster than with any of the other methods. But it's important for you to choose which is the best for you and what you feel most comfortable with. My second tip is for you to review your budget and your bills. So I know that this isn't directly going to help you pay down your debt faster, but it will once you figure out what you can cut from your budget. So this is any unnecessary expenses, things that you're not even aware that you're spending money on, or maybe things that you're not using very often, or even things that you can live without, at least while you're on your debt-free journey, like cable, for example, or getting your nails done frequently, things that you truly don't need to survive and that you can cut out and use that money toward your debt instead. Of course, if you take that money, put it toward your debt, you're gonna be paying it off a lot faster. However, going along with that, it's important to review your bills that you can shop around for. So this is gonna be car insurance, renter's insurance, any sort of memberships that you're a part of, even the services you have, like your Wi-Fi or your phone bill. You can shop around and see who's offering maybe some bonuses or some discounts. And then again, with anything that you save from those, you can roll that money over into your debt. And of course, it's gonna make a dent on your debt payments. Number 3, for those of you who have credit card debt, ask for a lower interest rate. So many people do not know that you can call your credit card company and ask if they have any promotions for a lower interest rate. You can you just call them, you ask them, can I get a lower interest rate on my card? And they'll do it. Like, you don't have to explain anything. You could. There may be some people who are like, why do you want this? But you could say, I've been a loyal customer, I've made all my payments on time, I'm looking to improve my finances, I'm trying to get out of debt, etc. But typically they don't ask. From my experience, when I first started my debt-free journey and I had a few credit cards, I called all of them, and I believe every single one lowered my interest rate except for maybe one, and that was just because they didn't offer that at the time. So if you have a credit card at 27% interest and you call them and ask for a lower rate and they end up giving you 19% or possibly even lower, you're gonna save a lot of money in interest. Even if this is a temporary savings, that gives you a lot of time to make more progress, and you're not gonna be accruing that interest every single day, every single month. And then the more that you pay down, you're gonna pay even less interest, and it just works in your favor all around. So don't be afraid to call and just ask. The worst that they can say is no. You can ask why you're getting a no and maybe improve upon that. Maybe it's because of your credit score and you need to work on that over the next few months, and then you can call back. But for a lot of people, they will at least lower your rate 1 to 2%. Number 4 is to consider a balance transfer. Now this one you really need to be careful with because it can be tricky when it comes to certain debts that you choose to do a balance transfer with. I do have a video on this. I chose to do a balance transfer with my student loans, and it actually put a lot of stress on me. And while everything worked out okay and I didn't end up paying any interest on that balance transfer, it was still a little bit more stress in my life than necessary. But if you have high interest credit card debt that is more than a few $1,000s, then I definitely recommend you look into a balance transfer. If you have a loan with a lower interest rate, or you only have a couple of $1,000s of credit card debt, it may not be worth it. So when it comes to the lower interest rate loan, you may end up doing a balance transfer and you have like 12 months to pay it down with the 0% interest, but after that 12 months, it's gonna go over 20%. And if you're doing that on a 5% loan, for example, you're gonna go from 5% possibly over 20%, and that may not be worth it if you can't pay it off in that 12-month span. If you think it's worth it and you can absolutely guarantee pay that off in 12 months, it probably will be worth your time. But you have to just be really careful and make sure you can do that. Just remember that emergencies happen and things could pop up. When it comes to doing a balance transfer of a smaller balance, you may save money, but you also will be having to pay a fee. Usually it's like a 3% balance transfer fee, and sometimes that's not worth it for a smaller loan. So it's best to do a balance transfer if you're somebody who has a lot of credit card debt and all of it is like high interest. So then you can do a few $1,000s to a balance transfer, pay the fee of about 3%, and then you'll have 0% for some set period of time, usually 12 months. And this isn't as risky because even if you don't pay everything off within that 12-month period, you're probably going to go back to a similar interest rate that you had before. But of course, the whole idea behind a balance transfer is to pay it down within that, take advantage of the 0% interest and knock down as much of it as possible. Or you could focus on your other debts that now have a higher interest rate. Tip number 5 is to consider consolidating your debt. So this is very similar, basically the same as my previous tip, because a balance transfer is a form of consolidating your debt, but you can also consolidate your debt in the form of a personal loan. So you can get a larger loan. Maybe it will be, you have $20,000 of debt dispersed between a few credit cards, maybe another personal loan that has a high interest rate, and you can bundle that all together so you don't have to keep track of the 10 different bills that you're paying. You can get it all under one interest rate, all under one payment, and you can get your money more organized that way and probably save money on interest. Again, it is best to consolidate if you have a lot of debt with high interest rates, as well as a good credit score, because you'll probably get a better rate if you have a good credit score. But even if your credit score isn't that high, you will probably save more money by taking out a personal loan, but I can't guarantee that you would get approved for one. So just keep that in mind. If you do have a lower credit score, you may get rejected, but that will hit your credit and potentially lower it even more. Probably not significantly, but it's something to think about. Another thing when it comes to consolidating your debt, you want to make sure that whatever minimum payment they offer with this new loan, that you can afford it. So this is best for somebody who is actually making their payments on time and you are expecting to pay off your loans within a few years. Tip number 6 is to pay your debts more often. Let me start by saying, if you have a lump sum of cash, so let's say that you get your tax refund of $2,000, it's best to make a lump sum payment on whatever debt it is that we're talking about. So make that payment as soon as possible, and that will save you more money in the long run. However, let's say that you have the choice between making one large lump sum payment in the middle of the month on your due date, or at the end of the month for your payday, versus making as many payments as you can throughout the month. It's better for you to make multiple payments throughout the month. So for example, I used to do this with my student loans. I would make the minimum payment, of course, but the more often that I put money toward my student loans, the more money I was saving, because I was accruing interest daily. So the lower my balance was, the less I paid in interest, and the faster I'll be paying off my debt. So each time you are making a payment toward that debt, you will be saving money in interest, and you'll be able to knock it down faster, because that balance will be lower overall, less interest accrued, and again, you'll pay it off faster. Most importantly is making sure you make the minimum payment, paying it on time, paying it every month. But if you get extra cash here and there, maybe you have some tips, or you just get cash for your birthday or something like that, it is better to make a payment immediately. Don't save it up for the end of the month. As long as you're able to afford your bills and everything else with your life, then I do suggest just going ahead and put it toward your debt as soon as possible. Now with this tip, I will offer you to try out Transfer Tuesdays. Transfer Tuesday was created by Mary from Pennies Not Perfection here on YouTube, and it's something that I picked up over a year ago, and it has made a huge difference in paying down my debt and just my money mindset overall. So that's something that you could start doing if you're not very comfortable with this. But basically, we are making weekly transfers to our debt or to our investments, to our savings, whatever it is that you're working toward. But specifically for this video, we're talking about debt, so you could make an extra payment every single Tuesday if you wanted to join us for Transfer Tuesday. Okay, and finally, my final tip is to stay motivated. And I know that that's really hard on your debt-free journey. I do have a video and a blog post about this, so I can link that down below. But I think one of the most important things is to think back to your why. I actually have two really important things. So think back to your why. Why are you doing this? Visualize yourself being debt-free, and think about how good it's gonna feel to have that financial freedom and just be in a stronger financial situation when you no longer have to pay to somebody. You've really got to stay focused on this journey, and it is a roller coaster. It can be really defeating at times, but as long as you stay focused and on track, then you will pay it down faster, because you're going to prioritize this goal of yours and put your extra cash toward your debt. And maybe you have to sacrifice a few things that you are used to or want to do in order to be responsible and pay down what it is that you want to pay down. The second thing that I think is most important when it comes to staying motivated is having visual reminders. And for me, that is debt trackers. So I have quite a few around my house. I have one on my fridge. I have one right here in my living room. It's a big thermometer that I color in, and it has my debt, how much I've paid down. And I also keep them in my notebook so that I can keep coloring them in as I pay debt down. And to me, I find it really exciting to be able to color those in when I pay down debt, or just keep track of my milestones. And that also keeps me really motivated. Having it in your face and there to remind you of what your goal is very, very helpful. I suggest watching people on YouTube. I know a lot of you watch myself to stay motivated, and I did the same thing, which is why I created this YouTube channel, because This holds me accountable, but also I was inspired by other people tracking their debt, which motivated me. Just know that you're not alone in this, because it can get very lonely and stressful and difficult. But if you just keep pushing through, one day you'll be debt free, and that's so exciting. And I know that doesn't directly help you to pay down your debt faster, but it could, you know, as Dave Ramsey says, you know, be gazelle intense and get a second job and do all these things. While those are definitely not necessary whatsoever, it's something to think about, because the more focused you are and more gazelle intense you are, the faster you are gonna pay down your debt. Those are my top tips for paying down your debt faster. I will have a blog post for this exact thing linked down below as well. Comment down below if there's anything that you would add to this list or what has helped you to pay down your debt faster. Thank you all so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.